So I'm trying something new today and I'm dipping my toes into podcasting. I've been getting the message to start podcasting recently, so I'm simply following that thread. And let me just say, me as McKenna does not want to do this. My human has a lot of resistance to doing this. I enjoy making videos, but I'm horrible at talking in front of the camera. In fact, every single time I do, my mind literally just goes blank and nothing comes out. And then it's just me editing and piecing together what it is I wanted to say into a hopefully somewhat coherent fashion. I can write and plan everything I want to say and feel completely prepared, and then the camera turns on and my brain is just wiped. So for now, instead of being in front of a camera, I can just hide away a little bit. You know, my favorite part of making videos is the being behind the camera part. I do not like filming myself. But in order to get my stories across, I have to film myself. And I think that's where the space is. Podcasting would just open up so much space for me to say the things I want to share while not limiting myself to what I can portray with a camera. Because my videos are very limiting and very limited. I always have 100 things I could expand on, but I limit them and try to create a cohesive video that hopefully doesn't lose every viewer who watches. So it's very limiting. And my future thoughts for how I could go around this would be to write a book where I could share everything I want to share. But here's the thing, I am not a writer. I don't claim to be one. And I've recently taken so much enjoyment in writing, and it's become so flowing and easy for me. But a book doesn't share what needs to be shared now. A book is something I'd love to maybe think about in 5 or way more years. And it's a thread to hold on to, but today is today, and I have things I want to share. And we live in a beautiful age where we can do that. So I'm trying. I'm simply grasping that tiny thread and seeing where it leads. And it might be nowhere. I might be making all of this up. But I have seen enough fragments of the thread show up in my life for a while now to know that the thread is at least making itself available. And I guess it's my job to see what I can knit with that thread. Wow, already making this a knitting podcast. Nice. Okay, along that line, I think that's why I'm so willing to give this a shot. If a past version of myself had this idea, well, for one, she would doubt herself into never starting, tell herself that she can't and that she's not good enough, which truly I can't imagine I will be very good at this, which I'm just saying in full recognition of my strengths and not strengths. But this time I'm just willing to try and see what comes out of it, simply out of curiosity. A past me would have been too afraid to try, too afraid to be bad, that I would never try. Or I would have had to be fully in and have full branding, all the equipment, which would have never happened. I would have needed to find someone to do this with, and all of the things would have stopped me. And if I somehow had proceeded with releasing the perfect full podcast, it would have gotten 0 listeners, and that would have been it. I would have built up so much expectation around it, and then to be let down, it just would have stopped me. But in starting this organically with the simple inquiring of, what is that thread? I have no expectations. In fact, my expectations are of failure, and I accept that. In fact, I might be more content with that because knowing no one will listen feels like a safety net. Something that allows me to be and say without fear of others judging me because there's literally no one on that other end. Really, this just opens up a conversation with myself, a vocal journal of sorts. But what I'd like to get into in this podcast is the willingness to follow the thread. How many of you are on YouTube or Spotify or reading your books, wishing to be that artist or that podcaster or that writer, but you find yourself sitting on the sidelines waiting for the perfect time to do things? Now, a lot can be said on this, and a lot has been said on this, but here's actually the direction my mind wants to go with this. I have wanted to start a YouTube channel since I can remember. I've always wanted to, and I think when I was younger, I wanted to for the wrong reasons. As a child, you see like YouTubers, you want to be one. And I tried starting. I heard all my favorite people say the things that I almost just said to you about starting, even if you suck, starting, yada, yada, yada. And I tried starting. And guess what? I wasn't consistent. Things got in the way, and I created things to get in the way so that I just couldn't do it. And I couldn't believe in myself. But I look back and I recognize that the person that she was could not have created something as beautiful and soul-driven as what I'm creating now. And that desire was always just the thread to hold on to while I went through the process of getting where I am now and where I'm still going. And I still have no one watching my videos, but I have intent. And even if I fail, I feel like the place that I'm coming from is of truth and of good. And I'm really trying my best to show up consistently as that. And I'm trusting that that will evolve to be better and better. And as I grow and learn and evolve myself and become more loving, that love is only going to be shared more. And that is just part of the process. But an old McKenna could not have even comprehended the intentions behind what I create now. So when people say to just start, do it. But what I want to add is, if there's resistance, maybe that resistance is there for a reason, because it's telling you something. If you don't quite feel ready in some area, I want to say like, okay, maybe because you're not. Maybe that's the exact information you need to dive into to figure out why you're not. And again, I'm not trying to say not to start. But if you can allow yourself the peace and the non-judgment of letting yourself evolve through whatever it is that's coming up for you, maybe those things are the threads that you need, and they just don't quite look like threads, but they are. Again, looking back, I always wanted to start YouTube, and for my own reasons, it was something I never started. And that old version of myself judged myself. I didn't have trust in myself because this is something I wanted to do, but I was putting my dreams aside to build a life for others. And again, that's the exact thing that I needed to move through. And that had many layers of threads, and it took me many years to move through it, but that has been my path. So what I want is for you to take the higher perspective, to zoom out, and what is it you want to do? Number one, figure out exactly what it is that's stopping you, and get to the very bottom of why that is, and allow that process to unfold in as much time as you need to heal it. And don't judge how long that takes. Like me, there are probably many layers you need to unravel in their own time. And your process is your own and can't be compared to others. And you have to trust the amount of time that takes. And I'm telling this to myself because I still very much struggle with this. But the threads are always there if you're paying attention. Because there are truly so many divine synchronicities in my life showing me to start the creative things, no matter how small they are. I think the real key here is trusting. And you can live your life without trusting if you want. All that will happen is you'll be very uncomfortable. Like, I'm just going to say I spent a whole lot of time being discontent with where I was, and it's a whole lot of not comfortable. And even if I'm still not where I want to be, I've accepted where I am, and I'm a whole lot more at peace and comfortable now. What I'm saying is, if you've had that desire to do something for a really long time, hold on to that thread and never let it go. And look for the next threads. And the next threads will definitely not look like what you think they're going to look like. They might be extremely deceptive threads that you don't even think you can use to make whatever it is you're making, but they might just be the most important threads that you need to put your piece together when it's time. So let go of all the judgments you make about yourself and why you're not starting, because maybe you truly are on the path that leads you to finishing the piece and you just can't see it because what's showing up is not what you envisioned. Now I'm going to give the flip side of this because this has manifested in my life as well. When the threads show up so consistently and you ignore them, that the threads become a density that weighs on you. The very act of not using the threads in front of you, the discomfort of the threads not being utilized, is what pushes you to make change. I've had this certainly as well. Sometimes it takes a complete discomfort of the not doing or the not being that pushes you to make change. This is when it can become something in your life that completely overhauls you. And we can prevent that from happening in the first place by simply being aware in your day-to-day life. Self-reflection is key here, and if you're doing that work, I often think the complete overhauls can be minimized or prevented. And overhauls are not bad, but they are uncomfortable. I mean, those complete overhauls are what lead to almost every spiritual awakening. Sometimes we need those things. The complete rearranging in order to arrange something that is more beautiful and more true. I think the final point I want to make here is if you've always had that desire, that is a thread to hold on to. And maybe that thread you just hold on to for a really long time. And you just have to trust that. Because if you've always had that desire to do something, I think that's your hint there, that something is there for you. But let that unfold in whatever way it is for you and be content with that, because that path is your path and it's perfect for you. Life is moving at the exact pace that you need it to. And I had this realization to my core the other day. I had the most mystical experience of my life, and one that I literally cannot share with others because it was just too mystical for anyone to understand. But in it, I had the realization that my life is truly unfolding at the exact pace I need. That we are all so supported in every single moment. And I won't get into anything further, but I remember realizing, like, if any part of my path unfolded any quicker than it has, I would have easily just ended up being thrown overboard, and people would have started to question if I was crazy and taking matters into their own hands on my behalf, because you go at the pace that your nervous system can allow. So often we want to move through life, but I realize it's our nervous systems that can't handle the amount of change that we desire. And life is unfolding at the exact pace you need it to. So trust that and follow the threads that are obvious. And trust that the threads that are not obvious are already happening in your life. You just don't realize it. And with that, I want to end with a thought by Seneca that saving the best part of life for old age is foolish forgetfulness of mortality. And postponing life is a selfish act because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So do what it is that you want to today. Because why not end with a paradox that completely upends what I just said? That'll give you another layer to contemplate. All right, thank you, love you, whoever you are listening. I don't know when I'll do another one of these, but I will. See you then. Bye.